Welcome. As our gospel is about hospitality, come inside our camper for this morning's reflection. This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Little did any of us know that our absence from one another would last as long as it has when we gathered for worship on March 15th. No matter how little or how much your daily life has been impacted and continues to be impacted by COVID-19, this season of our life has changed us all. As I reflect on the past few months, perhaps we all became a little too comfortable with the lives we were leading up until this pandemic. It didn't take long to become acutely aware of the difference between needs and wants. We were reminded a whole different timetable, one which we could not control. I looked back to our gospel from that day. I don't expect you to remember it, but it was from John 4, 5 through 42, the story of the Samaritan woman and Jesus at the well. Today's gospel from Matthew 10, 40 through 42, Jesus instructing the 12 the importance of offering and receiving a cold cup of water. It's not some grandiose gesture, simply a cold cup of water. It's amazing what a difference such a small gesture can make. God pays attention to small things and humble acts. And offering that cold cup of water, that welcome, the gift of compassion is as good for our own spiritual health as it is for the well-being of the one we welcome. We are finding our way together in uncertain times of this world that are very real. And there's a wider landscape that is ours to cross together. Each day is an opportunity to offer a cold cup of water because the well-being of each one of us is and always has been intricately interwoven with the well-being of all of us. Think back to some of the joys and trials of this life you have endured and the people you have encountered along the way that shared in those experiences. Some are strangers that you met only once. Some are people who are now your friends. Some are those who were active in various seasons of your life. What separates the encounters is whether they were pleasant, helpful, encouraging, or discouraging. We learn from those experiences. When I worked at Bradley University, part of my job in athletics was the coordination with other staff and hosting conference championships. There would be a banquet to kick off the event with the speaker. I always enjoyed that part as the speaker would share at least a part of their story of how they got to be where they are in their professional and personal life. And they genuinely gave thanks to those who helped them get there. In 15 plus years, all those banquets, that aspect of the story was always present. It was one speaker, however, that changed my thoughts about our encounters. She was a professional softball player, and when she talked about her journey, she thanked God for her natural ability, her parents, teachers, and then her coaches. She said she wouldn't be where she was without what they taught her, and while many coaches were positive role models and mentors, perhaps she learned as much, if not more, from those who weren't. She said there were some that made her want to quit, who told her she wasn't good enough, didn't have enough determination, and so forth. She admitted at times she wanted to give up. But softball was her passion, and she wasn't going to waste the talent God gave her. So she persevered with the help of the Lord and those who continued to encourage her. What she said made me think about my actions as a Christian when I'm interacting with people. Times when I'm not in church or at a church event. Have what others witnessed by my own behavior turned them to or from Christianity? Do our actions as Christians teach people about the love of Jesus Christ? Love so profound that he went to the cross for us? Do our actions express the hope we and others can find in him? The grace and peace we all receive from him? Or do we as Christians consciously or subconsciously refrain from extending that drink that Jesus asked us to give as his disciples? Does the drink offer the welcome into the kingdom, even those who don't exactly think like we do? Or do we reinforce some of the negative stereotypes often associated with Christianity? Jesus gives us the power to make a positive difference in one another's lives. I do believe many of us experience this during COVID-19. We may have people who discourage us, tell us we can't make a difference, But Jesus tells us otherwise. Because he gave us that power, we are all qualified, equipped with what is needed, even though we may not recognize it ourselves. This is a very profound truth, one we should pay attention to. As we spend time on so many daily tasks of this world, it's also essential to ultimately discern what God wants us to do, and that includes a cold glass of water to someone who is in need. And sometimes we need to be honest enough to recognize the person who needs it is us. We all thirst for the life-giving water of God's mercy and forgiveness. We too need to drink of the cup of salvation. Thanks be to God for his hospitality.